let me ask you actually about the problems you face domestically. For example, the one thing that I notice is if we take Warsaw as a benchmark, Warsaw has had no problem for many years generating countless IPOs. Okay, admittedly, of course, it's the capital of Poland, and Poland's a 40 million person nation, about 44 million now, thanks to many Ukrainian refugees tragically driven across the border due to the invasion by Russia there. But the region, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on your exchange. I mean, all of the exchanges around you, and that can stretch all the way, in fact, to even somewhere like Romania, they all seem to have a huge problem with IPOs. Am I right? And there seems to be a relatively few IPOs take place around the region.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have already mentioned that the main challenge of many markets here in wider region is now on a supply side. Demand side, it used to be a problem on demand side at the beginning of our development, but now it's vice versa. So the main reason why supply side is a problem is exactly the lack of IPOs. For example, in our case, if you analyze what was going on in last 2 decades, we are still waiting for real IPO. All public offerings at our market was connected either because of the, let's say, regulatory requirements for increasing the capital, for example, banks or insurance companies, or it was when companies were capitalizing the accumulated profits, or after takeovers, but then there is no free float. So we are still waiting for this, let's say, classic story of family-owned company that is growing for years, then at a certain point of time to do IPOs. So more or less it's the same in other countries in the region, with some exceptions from time to time, but there is no consistent pattern of companies entering the public markets like in Western developed markets. So what are reasons? Still, after all these years, the main obstacle, in my opinion, and also some recent surveys that Macedonian Stock Exchange did it actually confirms that it's a fear of dilution of ownership still. So either it's a mentality issue or maybe again lack of some detailed knowledge, but even these big companies, good entrepreneurs are still preferring to have completely full control in the ownership. And also it's a kind of hesitation to be completely transparent. When you combine these two factors with a long period of quite low interest rates and relatively sound and well capitalized banking systems in the region, many of these companies literally did not have a real need to tap the market. We will see what the future will bring, especially with the obvious trend of increasing of interest rates in the forthcoming periods. But we will have this situation, interest rates probably will go up, which will be maybe impetus for some of the companies finally to not look only to bank financing, but on the other way, rise of interest rates and inflation and everything will change the overall environment, and the timing to tap the markets will not be maybe ideal. But these are my comments about the IPOs, and this still is the biggest challenge for smaller markets in our region.
Clearly, if you want to put it this way, muscle memory of corporates, well, in your case, Macedonia, but also around the region, remember incredibly high interest rates. I mean, interest rates that would make the eyes pop of the average American who was even around 20 years ago. And obviously, given the QE-addled period that we've been through, the cost of borrowing has been so low, everybody's been very excited about what they could manage to do. And that, you feel, has been a significant driver of people away from the stock market, or at least stopped them going to the stock market. So the end of QE might actually be a good time for your business. Do you think that that's likely to come with more debt and bonds being issued, given the issues you were talking about just a moment ago in relation to dilution?
Difficult to say. I think that, again, maybe in the equity part of financing, more changes are ahead of us. Not so much about bond issuing, but for sure, this new environment with higher interest rates will impact the development of the capital markets and the financing of the companies. My guess is that finally some of them will go with equity financing and with non-banking financing because of this.